I'm working on making these planters, which should have I'll have a JPEG placed right here. Okay, so you looked at the planter, the one that's done. So I'm going to show you, I put rebar inside of it. And this is the pattern. The one that's white, it was a little small. So I made it bigger, so that's my pattern. This one I just bent and I haven't wired it yet. So I'm going to bend this one. And I'm going to show you, because it's kind of it's a little different. So I'm using this, this is a, well, let's just call it a farm implement. It's very heavy, and it's got holes in it where the pin, when you go to lift it with the tractor, these boards are just leaning against it. If this was a real high class operation, I wouldn't have the boards there. But the main thing I want to show you is how I stick this in these holes and bend it. I'll move this board. So you want to, the first thing I'm going to do is bend just the end a little bit. It's already bent a little bit. I'm going to bend it just a little bit in one hole. So the end is, and then I'm going to put it in both holes, and I'm just bending it enough you can see the kind of rust or the finish or something flakes off. I'm just bending enough that flakes off, and then I'm moving on. And you know, it depends on what size. This is a roughly 3-foot diameter. So if it was bigger, you wouldn't bend it this much. If it was smaller, you'd bend it more, of course. But then you want to keep it, you know, on the same axis when you go to bend it. I went a little far on that one. So I try and get a little bit of a bend, more or less in every inch, you might say. I think I'm getting too tight. But if you get a general circle, an even bend, you can make it bigger or smaller, depending on how you wrap it together. I'm definitely going too tight. I'm a little bit aggressive. I'm being a little bit overly aggressive for the camera. But I think it'll probably work out as long as I've got an even bend. Because when I go to make my diameter, put the two of them together, you want, now this is a 10-foot piece of rebar, and the diameter on 3 foot is about 9 something. So it's going to overlap. You're going to want it to overlap. Otherwise, it has to overlap some way or another. It's not going to make a circle. The other one I bent about perfect. That's why I had but I'll go get the camera. So I'm getting around now. I'm going to go to the other side. Like this. Bend it like this. From the other side. I know I should show you how this just flakes off. This is going to goof me up probably. But I'm just doing it so this just flakes off. Watch. See how that flakes off? And then at the end, again, I'm going to bend I've got it in both holes, see now. And I'm just going to, let me do one more bend with both holes. A little trickier with one hand. Oops. Ah, rats. Now I'll just give that last thing in one hole so that the end doesn't stick out. Give it a pretty good bend. Now, let me set it back up. And let's see, I bent it too tight, but when I go to make it, I'm going to pull it out like this. See, and then I'll get my circle. Here's my pattern. So it'll work, see? And I'm going to use this, this is a soft wire to wire it together. This kind of standard procedure for rebar. I've got a, where is that wire? Alright, I found the wire. This is a holder for it. It's a very soft steel. It's special made for tying rebar. And so what you do is get your one that you're gonna do. Get it untangled. You probably can't see it now because I'm down. Alright, so here's, one's the pattern, one's the subject. Now I've lost that wire, I bet. So you get it to the right size and shape. See, it's not a perfect circle. It's pretty close. Now what do I do with that wire? I lost that piece of wire. Here it is. Alright, so you get it one way too, you can tell, is the two ends, the overlap is the same. So there's my overlap is the same when I do that. It looks a little big, but it's not round, is what the problem is. So there's one, there's the other. Okay, so anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and you can always redo it if it ain't right. I like to start it in between like that, and then you just wrap it like this. And so, the wire's so soft, it pretty much stays where you put it. So now, let's see if we can get this round. Actually, it looks pretty good. Oh, I just moved it. Now I gotta redo it. I didn't have enough confidence is what the problem was in my plan to do like this. Because these are ball 10 feet, so the overlap should always be the same. So just go with that. And then I'll wrap it up tight. And then I'll try and make it into a... What I like to do too is get these ends. Where's that wire? Lay these ends down so they won't stick out. There's more than one way to do this, of course, but so you can kind of experiment. Once you get it in the cement, of course, when you do the real union rebar, I think you have to wrap it tight and you have to twist it. But what I say is, once it's in the cement grabs a hold of all these ridges and it's pretty well locked down. If you ever busted up concrete with rebar in it, it's not fun, as they say. So I should roll it around like that. That's what I should be doing. And then around like this. So you get better. Every one you do, you get a little better. Alright, so now I got it pretty well hooked together. But I probably, well, let's see. That's about it. And I'll show you how I drop it in next. Here's what I'm using. It's got like pea gravel in it. So I put one bag in that thing, and I'm going to get, this is pure cement without any sand in it. Portland. We used to always call it Portland. I think that's a brand name. So I'm going to put one shovel like this, a small shovel. I'm going to go ahead and put it in there to kind of make it a little stronger. And then while it's dry, I'm going to mix it. I want to mix those dry ingredients real good. Use clean water. The soupier it is, the easier to work with, but less strong. Plus, I don't want that rebar to sink. Oh, I didn't show you my forms yet. This is a plastic, sheet of plastic. I think you put it on walls of like restaurants, bathrooms and stuff. And I just remembered too, I need to put fresh Vaseline on it. It's got Vaseline on it, it'd probably be okay. But I'm going to put a little more on it because I don't want it to stick. Okay, so I put a fresh layer of Vaseline all the way around. I'll tell you, you do not want the cement sticking in it. It will stick. It's a little bit black. It's set a little. Sometimes you can let me turn it. Oh fuck, I can't turn it now. It's a little thick now. It's not gonna. It's just a titch thick. Gotta run it again. I think it probably set up a little bit. Yeah, this is better. That's about right. It'll just pour now. Just pour it. And I'm going to pour all the way around and about a couple inches deep. And then I'm going to lay that rebar in. I think what I end up doing is mix it, what I'm going to do now, from now on, just mix it up too soupy and then add a little dry until it's where I want it, because it doesn't mix very good. It mixes better, it mixes easier when it's soupy. And you put a little dry in it. So now I've got a base all the way around, and I'm going to drop in that rebar. So let's get my rebar, which is over here. where you want to be sure it's the right size. Oh, that one needs another wire. There's one more. This one looks pretty good. Oops, I'm not pointed in the right direction. Alright, let's see if we can just drop it in there. And if it'll be round. So you don't want it touching either side. That looks pretty good. You don't want to touch it the inside or the outside. Now, just leave it sit there and pour cement on top of it. You don't want it on the bottom, you want it in the middle. And then I'll put another one, I'm going to put another one on too. That's how you do it. On this one that's already done, I have some imperfections like that. Actually, it's not bad, but I'll show you what see these kind of divots. What I'm going to do on this one is, and I already did it actually, run around with this trowel outside like this, all the way around. That helps push the rocks in a little bit. And I don't care about the inside because the inside is going to have dirt covering it up. So there, I did that. And then maybe a little of this to kind of vibrate it a little bit. You vibrate it, then it kind of fills in. I've got a real vibrator, but for a job like this, you would need just a little, almost like a woman's vibrator. Alright, so alright, so I'm going to drop that in there, same as I did the other one. Make sure it's at least an inch. And I don't have a lot of space, it's not real. I might have to, it's a little wide here. It's really not bad. I think I'm going to leave it. So I've got right here, let me pull it this way. Let's see how it does. Now it's a little bit here. It's not perfect circle. But it's probably good enough. Well, probably about an inch between the rebar and the inside of the form. Now I'll put the more stuff on it. See how it's got this pea gravel in it? You can actually do decorative stuff with this. I made the top layer real soupy. Now you gotta clean it. Clean your tool. So I've got two done and planted. And see, I've been putting this rounded surface on. That's what I got to do to this other one now. Strip the forms and put this rounded surface on. I'm just using these rebars pull out pretty easy. Of course, if it wasn't so rainy, they'd be harder to get out. But we've had a lot of rain, and it's pretty soft. Of course, they aren't in that deep either. And then we got these thumb screws here, so this is how I strip the form. Take these thumb screws off, and in theory, you know, because of the length of these screws, when I go to take it off, it's gonna bind, but actually they come on. Now these washers are too small. They didn't have the right size, so they want to stick. I'm gonna go ahead and take them off. They didn't have the size I really needed. Ouch. Alright, so that's off. So now, let's see, it kind of wants to go that way as I pull it out, but it comes off. That Vaseline really seems to work good. You don't want this to stick. It's a nightmare if it sticks. The hardest part of this is imagining how much you're going to need. I'd say I'll probably mix up this whole part of that. It's probably a little better than a third, a little less than a half, 3/5 of that bag. I think that's probably more than I need, but to leave a little powder left over isn't going to help me much. It goes bad too fast, and I could probably find somewhere else to put it. I put my Portland sweetener in there and mixed it up dry already. Now I'm mixing the water, and you got to be careful with the water this time, because if I get it too runny, I don't have any powder to dry it up with. It's a little bit too wet, but it'll be all right. I like to wet the whole surface to help adhesion. It helps, like if it's real dry and you put that mortar on, it's going to suck up the water out of the mortar. But this really, of course, isn't real dry anyway. And then the other thing is, it's just kind of basic common sense, you might say. Just pile it on like that, and then you kind of smooth it like this. It's a little bit too wet, but it'll harden up pretty fast, just like that. Kind of fun. So that's about it. The other thing that's a little tricky is to try and get all the grounded part the same all the way around, the same height all the way around. It's all judgment. There's no measurements, you know. Another thing you can do too, in about 2 hours, this will be what they call green. Then you can clean up. You can rub stuff off like I was just doing.